Hi VC, this is a special message. Punk means solidarity. And hello, um, this is Kostis, and I swear this is the last video I make before I make a proper uh, finds video. I've actually have recorded the first part of the finds video, but I was uh, talking with, Jason Skills made a comment in one of his videos where we talked about late 80s, early 90s music. And, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 1980. So, uh, in my teenage years were in the middle of the 90s, and he proposed to make some kind of best of early uh, early 90s, late 80s video. Uh, I think I will make a twist in this proposition by Jason, which was actually very nice, and I will show some stuff that I uh, was very into in the 90s, um, growing up and listening to them. They will all be CD. Sorry about that, VC Inspector. I also own these albums, not all of them, but some of them on vinyl as well. But I think it's more appropriate to show the CDs that I was playing back then, growing up. So I have more than 25 here, um, and I chose them. Um, uh, so as no, actually, um, the way I made the selection was that they had to be released in the 90s, and I had to actually have bought them then and listen to them that time period. So while I was really listening to so much stuff in the 90s and discovering bands from the past, I didn't include the records. And of course, these are not my favorite records of the 90s. They're just what I was buying and heavily into. And I'll start with the beginning. Nirvana in Utero. It was the first CD I ever bought. My first favorite band. Still one of my favorite bands ever. Yeah, just fantastic album. Of course, this one I'm just showing in Utero because it was the first one I ever bought, and I could show anything by Nirvana from that decade. And then because of Nirvana, I was into punk rock, and okay, my interest in the particular styles of punk rock have changed since then, but I still think these two records are great, even now. Offspring's Smash and Green Day's Dookie. Yeah, just great records. Um, yeah. Uh, and then I remember uh, watching MTV and a weird video clip from some alternative rock band showing up, and it was like, you know, I was completely floored by the song. It was Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah, uh, from 1995. I know many people say this album is way too long and not every track is equally great. But I don't know, for me it's their best album by far, and I love every single track on the album. I've listened to it I don't know how many times. Yeah, it's my favorite great band, Smashing Pumpkins. Then a very nice alternative rock band from Ireland. This one, Infernal Love, I think it's their third one. The first album from them I ever heard. MTV was playing the song Stories. It was on heavy rotation in MTV. Yeah, just great alternative rock band. And through them I discovered Husker Du. They have a cover song of the song Diane from Husker Du. Yeah, just great alternative rock band. Of course, I was also into the other grunge bands, and this is my favorite record from Soundgarden, and sadly it's their last one. Down on the Upside. It's where they actually it's their last one from the initial run, because they reformed at some point after breaking up in the late zeros maybe. Anyway, this is more psychedelic and experimental, not that grungy, but I prefer it. I mean, I like Bad Motorfinger, Super Unknown, very very much, but I think this is the one that I liked, especially in the 90s more. Then the last record Screaming Trees ever did. This one, it's from 1997. It's where I discovered the band. I was reading about the band in magazines. I knew about the Mark Lanegan, Kurt Cobain connection. I actually did go buy some vinyl records from SST of the earlier stuff, from the 80s stuff, but this was after I got this CD and I was hooked. Yeah, just fantastic record. Yeah, the most clean sounding Screaming Trees record, but very nice songs. I don't think it has a single bad song on here. And yeah, and then I was listening a lot to Afghan Wigs, of course not this album, the album Gentleman from 1994, but that CD is in my car, and I was very lazy, and I was bored, and I didn't want to go downstairs and pick it up, so the Afghan Wigs, Gentleman, and not this one. This is from 1998. 1965 is the name of the album. Not that great. Then I'll go to the more indie stuff I was discovering, and this is the first indie band that really changed the way I listened to music. Sonic Youth, Washing Machine. I got this when it was released in 1995 because of Nirvana, I guess. But yeah, this is from 1995. This is a great album. And oh yeah, I want to say about the last song, The Diamond Sea, which is nearly 20 minutes long, and it's full of feedback. Half of the song is feedback and noise effects and pedals. Yeah, when I listened to this song, I sort of had an epiphany, and I started to appreciate noise and sounds on themselves, on itself, sound in itself, and from then on, I don't know, probably that's why I got into noise music a little bit later on. But yeah, just fantastic album. probably one of my favorites of the band. Then the lo-fi indie rock movement with Pavement. This is Bright and the Corners from 1997. I actually have lots of stuff from 1997. I was 17 and discovering new music, and it stays with you at that age. Yeah, really nice record. More poppier sounding than the earlier Pavement stuff, but I really like this one. It was the first I ever listened to by the band. This Mercury Rev, yeah, this is where I started being more interested in a little more psychedelic, arty kind of indie rock. This is from 1998. Deserter Songs, probably the best-selling record, and one of my favorites as well. Yeah, it has. Yeah, this is a mix of kind of psychedelic and kind of throwback 60s, 70s style. I mean, members of the band, the great group that accompanied Bob Dylan. Yeah, members of the band also play on this record. Yeah, fantastic. Flaming Lips, first record I ever listened to by them. The Soft Bulletin from 1999. Yeah, fantastic psychedelic record, indie rock record. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Sleater-Kinney, my introduction to the Riot Girl movement. Although this is probably second wave Riot Girls. Yeah, I have all their, pretty much all of their stuff on vinyl as well. This one was the first I ever listened to, and yeah, it's full of great songs actually. Yeah, very cool. And okay, the Helicopters. This is a Swedish band. This is their first album, very hard to find on vinyl. I got this it was released in 1996, I think, or 1997. Yeah, anyway, I listened to the band in a compilation CD from a Greek fanzine, and I listened to the song Born Broke, and I was hooked. And it just happened that my parents went for a trip in Sweden in the summer of 1997, and so I asked them to go to a record shop and pick up this record. I suppose it would be would be funny, my mother going to the record shop and buying an album called Super City to the Max. Yeah, and this band actually, okay, this guy who's the lead guitarist and singer, he's actually the drummer from Entombed, the great Swedish death metal band. Yeah, and I have to say, the Helicopters, although I don't really like most of the stuff they did after this, well, actually one of the bands that somehow made me look and try to get more vinyl records, because as you can see here, they have only in vinyl, only, and they talk about how oops, sorry. They have ever got the feeling you've been cheated, and this is a whole manifesto about why CDs are bad and vinyl is better. So yeah, pretty cool. Now, this is the Metal Connection, and I was, of course, listening to lots of heavy metal and metal music. Of course, Rage Against the Machine. I had this on tape, and yeah, every single album they released in the 90s, I played it to death. I actually was lucky to have seen them live in 2000 in Athens. Some other metal stuff, progressive metal stuff, Tool and Nima, their best record as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, uh, I was playing it. This is perhaps my most played CD ever. I remember listening to it back to back for days. Yeah, and I was trying to convince my metal head friends to take a listen to this, but they just didn't want to listen to anything stranger than Pantera and Slayer and Metallica and Iron Maiden, which I also enjoyed. But yeah, and I told them, okay, uh, but I'm pretty sure that the next album by Tool you will all appreciate because they will become really famous. And uh, after they released the next record, Lateralus, the heavy metal magazine of Greece gave it an excellent review, 10 out of 10. And then somehow my friends were, okay, Tool is very nice. Okay, I told you so. Yeah. Another great band from the US, from the metal scene, 1996. This is Nevermore, The Politics of Ecstasy. Fantastic progressive power metal, but very, very heavy, extremely heavy. I mean, it's so heavy, the guitar sound like death metal even. Yeah, and I was also lucky to see them live during the tour of this album in Thessaloniki. Yeah, my favorite album by Nevermore. And then, of course, Kaios. Welcome to Sky Valley. I was very into this album, especially. Yeah, stoner rock, stoner metal. Yeah, a classic. Then an English band, Anathema, Judgment. This is from 1999. They also had some really nice records. They started as a doom death metal band, doom gothic death metal band, like Paradise Lost, but they evolved pretty quickly, and they made lots of great albums in the 90s. This is the last great album by them, as far as I'm concerned, but it's a great one. This is not exactly metal. It's more like Pink Floyd-ish, I could say. But yeah, this is an excellent album, very atmospheric, very nice compositions. Some arty stuff I was into. David Bowie, I discovered David Bowie through this album, Outside. And I know the 90s albums do not get much love. David Bowie's 90s album not get much love, but for me this is one of my favorite David Bowie albums ever. It's it made me discover Brian Eno, who is also a collaborator in this album. There's ambient music. There's of course art rock, electronica, even some hints of new metal. Yeah, just fantastic record. If you haven't listened to this, I think it really stood the test of time, and it sounds very modern even nowadays. Of course, I was a big fan of Radiohead, especially the bands, OK Computer, and of course Kid A, but Kid A actually is my favorite album from Radiohead, but it was released in 2000, so this is what I was actually listening to most in the 90s, and the bands. Okay, I thought I'd show this one, although it's very close with the bands, because it's more famous, popular record. Spiritualized, fantastic. I just got this record on vinyl last year. The Vinyl Me Please version, which is pretty nice. Yeah, Spiritualized, first record I ever heard by them, and still my favorite. And then I also got to listen to Spaceman 3, Jason Pierce's earlier band, which is also fantastic. Of course, Mogwai. This is their first album, Mogwai Young Team. This is where my love for post-rock music began. And from 1997, the great Scottish label Chemical Underground. I actually have interviewed Mogwai, Stuart, let's say the leader of the band, when they came in Thessaloniki in the early zeros. He is a very nice guy. Yeah, I was this period from 97 onwards. I was discovering new post-rock music. Of course, I hadn't discovered Godspeed You Black Emperor yet, and the great Canadian label Constellation that would come in the early zeros. And one of the best bands in the post-rock genre, Tortoise. This is their album TNT. Yeah, just fantastic. They mix in so many influences in this: jazz, electronica, drum and bass. Yeah, just like music that could be composed by Ennio Morricone. Yeah, this is what post-rock should have been, in my opinion, or this. I mean, trying to do different things, but I think it became a little bit stagnant after a little while, and all the bands were copying the same, Mogwai, Godspeed, You Black Emperor kind of thing, and I got disinterested really quickly. But anyway, and I also was into much electronic stuff in the 90s, and I'm showing this by the Prodigy, Breathe. This is just a CD single from the Fat of the Land LP from 1997. But I'm showing this because I don't actually own anything other than this by the Prodigy on CD or vinyl or whatever. But I had all their releases, singles, albums, dubbed into tapes, and I was constantly playing them. Yeah, just fantastic band. Breakbeat, early techno, yeah, pioneers. And of course, Orbital. I've shown this before. This is the first techno electronic record I ever listened to and bought, and yeah, it's such a great record by Orbital. Actually, all the records up until the Middle of Nowhere, the next album after this, are really special. Yeah, and it made me realize that electronic music could be, more than music to dance to. It could be deeper and more complex and more interesting. Yeah, just fantastic. And last but not least, Portishead. the 1998 live album in New York City. So it's the album I first listened to by them. It's great. It's a great concert. They have an orchestra playing, and the yeah, it's fantastic renditions of their songs. It could actually be a greatest hits album, only better. Yeah, trip hop. Uh, uh, yeah, just fantastic. So that was my video. Whoops. Like a response to Jason's comment. I hope you enjoyed. Bye. Oh, and maybe if you'd like to make a video like this, like music that you were heavily into when you were growing up in a specific decade, or maybe do what Jason actually suggested. Top 10 albums from the from the late 80s and early 90s. Yeah, it's all good. Thanks. Bye.